Enthusiasts from across the globe are gearing up for the largest Loch Ness monster hunt in 50 years.
Something strange is happening in Loch Ness, and scientists say they may have finally found the truth. For decades, people have seen shapes in the water, heard strange sounds at night, and watched dark shadows move under the surface. Some called it a monster. Others said it was all lies. But what if the world was wrong? What if something real has always been hiding in that dark lake? After the most detailed investigation ever done in Loch Ness, new scientific results are finally out. And what they reveal is shocking. This discovery might change everything we thought we knew. But before we get to what scientists found, we need to go back to where this mystery first began. The mysterious lake. Something strange has always surrounded Loch Ness. People do not fear the surface. They fear what hides below it. The water looks calm from the outside, but inside it is almost completely dark. Light barely reaches a few feet. Loch Ness is one of the deepest lakes in the United Kingdom. That depth creates pressure, darkness, and a world humans cannot see. Even trained divers say it feels like entering a different planet. The thick peat in the water blocks almost all visibility. For ancient people living around the lake, this darkness was not just nature. It felt like a warning. Celtic tribes told stories of dangerous creatures living in the water. They spoke of spirits that changed shape and pulled people under. They believed the lake was alive in its own way. These old stories were not told for entertainment. They were told to keep people safe. In those days, a sudden drowning or a missing traveler created fear. People explained these tragedies by imagining a creature beneath the water. Over time, these warnings became stories people told for generations. Writers first mentioned a creature in the area more than 1,000 years ago. Travelers heard these stories from local people who lived near the lake and trusted their wisdom. The idea of a hidden presence in the water grew stronger with each generation. Some believed it was a monster. Others thought it was a spirit. Everyone agreed on one thing. Something about Loch Ness was different. But were these early warnings based on imagination, or did people witness something real that they could not explain? To understand how this belief exploded into a worldwide mystery, we need to look at the first modern reports that brought Loch Ness into global attention. The first reports. The mystery of Loch Ness truly began in the early 1930s. Before that time, sightings were rare and mostly passed through local stories. The lake was isolated, and very few outsiders traveled through the area. There were no proper roads, and most people who lived near the lake were farmers or workers who stayed in the same region their whole lives. Everything changed when a new road was built along the northern shore. The A82 gave drivers a clear view of the lake for the first time. What had once been hidden by trees and steep land was now visible from passing cars. More people traveled through the region, and more eyes were suddenly watching the surface of the water. In April 1933, a report appeared that changed everything. A couple named George and Aldi Spicer claimed they saw a large creature cross the road in front of their car. They described a long neck, a wide body, and movement that did not match any known animal in the area. They said the creature slid back into the lake after crossing. Their account was detailed enough to catch the attention of local newspapers. This was during the Great Depression. Newspapers needed strong stories to stay alive, and an unknown creature was a perfect headline. Editors gave the story more attention than expected, and soon larger papers picked it up. Illustrations made the creature look even bigger and stranger. People who read these stories began to watch the lake more carefully when they visited. Within weeks, more sightings were reported. Some people saw humps moving across the water. Others saw long shapes below the surface. A few locals claimed they heard unusual sounds at night. A small number even insisted the noises sounded like crying or low calls. Were these new reports accurate, or were people influenced by what they had read in the newspapers? Sightings increased rapidly. Visitors arrived hoping to see the creature for themselves. Boat rentals became more common. The quiet lake was turning into a tourist destination. This rise in reports created pressure for stronger proof. People wanted something real and clear. The demand grew so quickly that even ordinary sightings were treated like major events. But no one expected what happened next. A single piece of evidence appeared that would send the mystery far beyond local stories. It changed the way the entire world saw Loch Ness. You would not believe what people claimed to capture next. The famous photo. In 1934, one picture changed the entire story of Loch Ness. Before this moment, the mystery was growing, but it still depended on eyewitness accounts. People described what they saw, but nothing was solid. That changed when a major London newspaper published a photograph that appeared to show a long neck rising from the dark water. The image became known as the surgeon photo because it was linked to a respected doctor. People trusted him, so they believed the picture must be real. The shape in the water looked like the neck and head of a large animal. There were ripples around it, and the picture seemed clear enough for the public to accept without doubt. At that time, photo editing was extremely limited. There were no digital tools. Everything had to be done manually, and it was very difficult to fake an image. Because of this, people saw photographs as strong evidence. If something appeared in a picture, many believed it must be true. This created a wave of excitement around the world. The timing of the photo also played a big role. People wanted stories that offered mystery or wonder. A creature living in a deep, dark lake felt exciting and new. Newspapers everywhere ran the story. Some added extra details, and many repeated the claims without checking them. The story spread faster than any earlier report. More people began to visit the lake. Tourists wanted to stand on the shore and hope for their own sighting. The legend became part of daily life near Loch Ness. After the surgeon photo became famous, other pictures and films also appeared. Some showed shapes in the water. Some showed dark objects moving across the surface. One of the most discussed pieces of footage came later in 1960 from an engineer named Tim Dinsdale. His film showed a dark object creating a strong wake in the water. Many believed it proved that something large was moving below the surface. Others thought it was a boat. Did these images show a creature? Or were people seeing ordinary things in unusual conditions? For many years, the photos were not questioned. They were printed in books and magazines. The idea of a large, unknown animal living in Loch Ness became a part of world culture. But the picture that shaped the legend the most was still the surgeon photo. No other image had the same influence. It became the symbol of the entire mystery. As interest grew, so did pressure for stronger evidence. People wanted certainty. They wanted proof that could not be doubted. This desire for clear answers led investigators to look more closely at the photographs and the stories behind them. To understand how the legend changed again, we need to look at what researchers discovered about these early images and why many were later questioned. The hoaxes revealed. For many years, the early photos of the Loch Ness Monster were accepted without much doubt. People trusted the images because they came from a time when photographs were rare and hard to fake. But as technology improved and researchers studied the pictures again, new facts began to appear. The surgeon photo was the first major photo to be questioned. For decades, it was treated as the strongest proof of a creature in the lake. But in 1994, a man named Christian Sperling admitted something surprising shortly before he passed away. He said the famous photo was not a real creature. It was a small model attached to a toy submarine. The picture had been staged as part of a plan to embarrass the newspaper that published it. If the most famous photo was fake, what about the others? Researchers began to re-examine older images with new tools. Some pictures showed signs of edited edges or objects that were smaller than they first appeared. The flipper photo from the 1970s, which once supported the idea of a prehistoric creature, was also reinterpreted. Experts later suggested it might have been a natural object or something placed in the water to create a certain shape. The discovery of hoaxes did not end the mystery, but it changed the direction of the search. Some people refused to accept the confessions and believed the photos were real. A few claimed that researchers were trying to hide the truth. But most people realized that the evidence from photographs could no longer be trusted on its own. This shift pushed scientists toward more advanced methods. They needed tools that could measure the lake and detect real objects under the surface. But if photos could be faked so easily, what could be trusted? This question moved investigators away from cameras and toward stronger technology. To continue the search, they turned to sonar, a tool that could map the deep parts of the lake that no one had ever seen before. The sonar hunt. After the photo hoaxes were exposed, researchers knew they needed stronger evidence. They needed something that could not be staged or misunderstood. This pushed them towards sonar. Sonar uses sound waves to detect objects underwater. It does not depend on light, so the dark water of Loch Ness was no problem for it. In the 1960s, the first organized search group was formed. It was called the Loch Ness Investigation Bureau. Their goal was to scan the lake in a systematic way. They used early sonar equipment and dragged it across different areas of the water. The results were mixed. Most readings showed normal fish or empty spaces, but sometimes a large moving shape appeared on the screen. These shapes were bigger than any known fish in the lake. They moved slowly and disappeared before the team could identify them. Some scientists thought the shapes might be unknown animals. Others believed the readings were caused by floating debris or changes in water temperature. Loch Ness is a very unusual lake. Its layers of water change density quickly. These shifts can make sonar signals bend or bounce in unexpected ways. In 1987, the biggest sonar project ever attempted on the lake took place. It was called Operation Deep Scan. 20 boats lined up across the entire width of the lake. They moved together in a straight line from one end to the other. Their goal was to map every part of the lake in a single survey. During the scan, one reading stood out. It showed a large object more than 600 feet below the surface. The signal was stronger and larger than the others. It moved slowly, then disappeared. Some experts believed it could be a large animal. Others thought it might be a false reading caused by the unique conditions of the lake. Was the sonar capturing a living creature, or was it reacting to the lake's unusual structure? The results brought excitement, but no final answers. Sonar proved that strange shapes existed, but it could not identify them. Researchers needed something more exact. They needed a method that could confirm what species lived in the water. To move closer to the truth, scientists turned to a new tool that studied the lake in a completely different way: the DNA test. By the late 2000s, sonar, cameras, and eyewitness reports still had not given a clear answer. The lake showed strange signals, but no one could confirm what caused them. Scientists needed a method that did not depend on sightings or photos. They needed evidence taken directly from the water itself. That led to a new approach called environmental DNA, also known as eDNA. Every animal leaves tiny pieces of genetic material in the water. Fish leave scales and mucus. Mammals leave skin cells and hair. Even waste carries DNA. By collecting water samples, scientists can identify which species live in a body of water without ever seeing them. In 2018, Professor Neil Gemmell and his team used this method on Loch Ness. They spent 2 weeks collecting samples from across the entire lake. They took water from the surface, the middle layers, and the deep bottom. In total, they gathered more than 200 samples. Each sample was filtered and processed in a lab. There was no DNA from prehistoric reptiles. This ruled out the idea of a surviving dinosaur. There was also no evidence of giant sharks, massive fish, or large unknown species. Many popular theories that had been repeated for decades were suddenly removed. The lake contained an unusually high amount of eel DNA. At first, the team checked for possible mistakes. They repeated the tests, and the results stayed the same. The lake had more eels than earlier studies had shown. But what could explain such a large presence of eel DNA in a deep, dark lake like this? Some scientists suggested that the eel population might include individuals that grow much larger than normal. Others argued that the high DNA level might reflect hidden groups living in areas that are hard to observe. The DNA findings did not solve the mystery, but they changed the direction of research again. If normal animals could grow larger in certain conditions, then some sightings might have been based on real creatures, just not the ones people imagined. This raised a new question that scientists could no longer ignore. To move forward, they had to examine the one explanation that kept returning in the data and the stories. Something already known to live in the lake, yet still full of unknowns. The giant eel idea. The high amount of eel DNA in Loch Ness led scientists to study eels more closely. These animals already live in the lake. They begin life in the Sargasso Sea, travel thousands of miles, and settle in fresh water for many years before returning to the sea to reproduce. Most European eels reach 2 to 3 feet, but in rare cases, they can grow much larger. This can happen when the water is cold, deep, and rich in food. Loch Ness matches these conditions. It also has isolated areas that humans rarely reach. Because of this, some researchers think a few eels may grow to unusual sizes. Larger eels could create long shapes at the surface, or strong wakes that look unfamiliar. Fishermen have also reported unusually thick eels in the area. But could oversized eels explain many of the sightings that people believed were monsters? It explains many shapes seen in the water, but it does not answer every case. Some sonar signals appear too large. Some witnesses describe movements that do not match eel behavior. These open questions keep the mystery from closing completely. And they lead to a deeper look at the reports and moments that science has not fully explained yet. The unexplained cases. Even with years of research, some events in Loch Ness still have no clear answer. The giant eel idea explains many reports, but not all of them. A few cases continue to stand out. The film recorded by Tim Dinsdale in 1960 is one example. Some experts see a boat. Others see an animal. The debate has lasted for decades, and no single conclusion has been accepted. Some felt sudden waves in quiet areas. A few heard strange sounds at night that did not match known animals. How do we address reports from people who are skilled at judging what they see? These accounts are difficult to ignore. They suggest that something in the lake may not fit simple explanations. Sonar readings add to this uncertainty. A few signals show objects larger than normal wildlife. Others show patterns that experts still cannot agree on. These unresolved details are why the mystery continues. The lake reveals some information but hides the rest. The Titanic rests quietly once again, deep beneath the Atlantic. Lights are off. The drone has returned. And yet, What it revealed will stay in human memory forever. It showed us not just history's greatest tragedies. The Titanic may be a wreck, but it is also a reminder of how fragile we are and how easily time can bury even the grandest dreams. So, what do you think? Should we keep searching for monsters, or finally let the Titanic rest in peace? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, hit that like button and subscribe. Also, turn on the notification bell so you don't miss out on our future videos like this. Until